1. The City of Kronos. In the heart of the bustling metropolis of Kronos, time was more than just a concept, it was a commodity. The grand city, with its towering skyscrapers and intricate clockwork mechanisms, thrived on the delicate balance of hours, minutes, and seconds. Here, time was currency, and those who could manipulate it held immense power. Elara lived in the shadow of the city's imposing clock tower, in a modest apartment filled with the soft ticking of countless clocks. Her father, Alistair, was one of the most skilled time weavers in Kronos. His ability to mend the fabric of time made him a respected and indispensable figure. However, his gift came with its own set of dangers and responsibilities. From a young age, Elara was fascinated by the art of time weaving. She would watch in awe as her father deftly worked with shimmering threads of time, repairing fractures and ensuring the smooth flow of the city's temporal currency. Alistair often spoke of time as a living entity, one that needed careful tending and respect. On a particularly crisp morning, as the first light of dawn bathed the city in a golden hue, Elara's life took an unexpected turn. She awoke to find her father missing, his workspace in disarray. Panic set in as she noticed a peculiar, shimmering residue on his tools, a sign of recent time manipulation. Elara's heart raced as she searched for clues. Among the scattered papers and broken clock parts, she found a cryptic note left by her father. It spoke of a shadowy organization that sought to harness the power of time weaving for their own sinister purposes. The note warned of imminent danger and urged Elara to flee. Determined to find her father and uncover the truth, Elara decided to stay and fight. She quickly gathered her father's tools and set out to find answers. Her journey led her to the bustling market district, where traders dealt in seconds and minutes, and whispers of the black market's illicit dealings in stolen time were rampant. Elara's search brought her to a secluded alleyway, where she encountered an old friend of her father's, a retired time weaver named Gareth. With his help, she began to piece together the puzzle of her father's disappearance. Gareth revealed that Alistair had been investigating a series of temporal anomalies that pointed to a powerful new player in the city's underground. As Elara delved deeper, she discovered her own latent ability to manipulate time. Initially overwhelmed by the magnitude of her gift, she found solace in Gareth's guidance. He taught her the basics of time weaving, helping her to control and refine her newfound powers. With each passing day, Elara grew stronger and more determined. She realized that her father's disappearance was part of a larger conspiracy that threatened the very fabric of Kronos. Armed with her new skills and a resolve forged by love and fear, Elara vowed to find her father and protect the city from those who sought to exploit its most precious resource. As the sun set over the city, casting long shadows across the cobbled streets, Elara stood at the edge of a new beginning. The path ahead was fraught with danger and uncertainty, but she was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The city of Kronos, with all its beauty and peril, awaited her next move. 2. Shadows of the Past. Elara's quest to find her father and unravel the mystery behind his disappearance took her deeper into the heart of Kronos than she had ever ventured before. The city, with its labyrinthine streets and towering buildings, held secrets in every shadowed corner. As she moved through the bustling crowds and quiet alleyways, Elara felt the weight of the past pressing in on her, whispering of old enmities and forgotten betrayals. Determined to find clues about her father's captors, Elara began her search in places where her father had often gone for information. The first stop was the Clockwork Tavern, a dimly lit establishment frequented by time traders and clocksmiths. The air was thick with the scent of oil and metal, and the walls were lined with gears and cogs that turned in perpetual motion. Elara approached the bar, where the tavern's owner, a burly man named Victor, polished a glass absently. He looked up as she approached, his eyes narrowing with recognition. "Elara," he said, his voice a deep rumble. "I wondered when I'd see you." "Victor, I need your help," Elara said, her voice steady despite the fear gnawing at her insides. "My father is missing. I found this note, but it doesn't make much sense to me." She handed him the crumpled piece of paper. Victor read the note, his expression darkening. "This is bad, Elara. Very bad. Your father was onto something big, something dangerous. The people who took him, they're part of a group that's been trying to control the flow of time for their own gain. They call themselves the Temporal Order." "The Temporal Order?" Elara repeated, a shiver running down her spine. She had heard whispers of the organization, but they had always seemed like ghost stories, the kind of tales told to frighten children. "What do they want with my father?" "Your father was, the best time weaver in Kronos," Victor said. "They want his skills, and they'll stop at nothing to get them. But he's not the only one they've targeted. There have been other disappearances, other time weavers who've gone missing in recent months." Elara felt a surge of determination. "I have to find him, Victor. Can you help me?" Victor nodded slowly. "I'll do what I can. But you need to be careful, Elara. These people are dangerous, and they won't hesitate to hurt you if they think you're a threat." With Victor's help, Elara began to piece together a trail of clues that led her through the darker parts of Kronos. She visited the underground time markets, where stolen minutes and hours were traded for exorbitant prices. She spoke to smugglers and thieves, always careful to keep her true purpose hidden. Along the way, she encountered old friends and new allies. There was Lila, a clockmaker with a knack for finding hidden pathways through the city, and Marcus, a former member of the Temporal Order who had turned his back on their ruthless tactics. Together, they formed a small but determined group, each with their own reasons for wanting to take down the Order. As they delved deeper into the mystery, Elara began to uncover secrets about her own family's past. She learned that her father had once been a member of the Temporal Order, but had left when he realized the full extent of their plans. He had dedicated his life to stopping them, and had been training Elara in the hopes that she would one day continue his work. The revelations were a shock, but they also gave Elara a new sense of purpose. She wasn't just fighting to save her father, she was fighting to protect the city she loved from those who would exploit its most precious resource. The more she learned, the more dangerous her mission became. The Temporal Order had eyes and ears everywhere, and it wasn't long before they became aware of her efforts. One evening, as she and her friends gathered to plan their next move, they were ambushed by a group of Order enforcers. A fierce battle ensued, the clash of metal and the crackle of temporal energy filling the air. Elara fought with everything she had, using her newly honed abilities to twist and turn time to her advantage. But the enforcers were skilled and relentless, and it quickly became clear that they were outmatched. Just when it seemed like all hope was lost, a figure appeared in the shadows, a tall, imposing man with eyes that gleamed with an otherworldly light. With a wave of his hand, he sent the enforcers flying, their bodies crumpling to the ground in a heap. "Elara," he said, his voice calm and authoritative. "We don't have much time. Come with me." Elara hesitated for only a moment before following the stranger into the night. As they ran, she realized that her fight was far from over. The shadows of the past were closing in, and she would need every ounce of strength and courage to face the challenges that lay ahead. 3. The Enigma of the Time Weavers. Elara followed the mysterious stranger through the winding streets of Kronos, her heart pounding with a mixture of fear and curiosity. The man moved with a purpose, leading her through hidden pathways and secret passages that seemed to twist and turn in ways that defied logic. Finally, they arrived at a nondescript door nestled between two towering buildings. The stranger knocked in a peculiar rhythm, and the door creaked open. Inside, Elara found herself in a dimly lit chamber filled with ancient tomes, glowing crystals, and intricate clockwork devices. The air was thick with the scent of aged paper and burning incense. The stranger led her to a large wooden table, where a group of individuals were gathered, their faces illuminated by the soft glow of the crystals. "Welcome to the sanctuary," the stranger said, removing his hood to reveal a stern yet kind face. My name is Thorn, and we are the remnants of the original Time Weavers. Elara looked around, taking in the faces of the people who had dedicated their lives to preserving the delicate balance of time. They were a diverse group, each with their own unique abilities and expertise. There was Miriam, a skilled chronomancer who could manipulate time with a mere thought, Kiran, a master clocksmith whose creations could bend the very fabric of reality, and Elena, a historian with an encyclopedic knowledge of temporal lore. Thorn gestured for Elara to sit, and the group began to explain the history and purpose of the Time Weavers. They were an ancient order, sworn to protect the natural flow of time and prevent its misuse. For centuries, they had worked in secret, ensuring that time remained unaltered and unexploited. But over the years, their numbers had dwindled, and the rise of the temporal order had posed a new and deadly threat. The temporal order seeks to control time for their own gain, Thorn explained. They believe that by mastering time, they can achieve ultimate power. They've been targeting Time Weavers, trying to force them to reveal their secrets or eliminate them if they refuse. Elara listened intently, her mind racing with the implications of what she was hearing. She realized that her father had been deeply involved in this struggle, working to protect the city from the Order's ambitions. The revelations filled her with a renewed sense of purpose and determination. But why did they take my father? Elara asked, her voice trembling with emotion. What do they want from him? Your father was one of the most skilled time weavers of our generation, Thorn said. He possessed knowledge and abilities that the temporal order desperately wants. They believe that by harnessing his power, they can unlock the secrets of time manipulation and bend it to their will. Elara felt a surge of anger and fear. We have to stop them, she said, her voice firm. We can't let them succeed. Thorn nodded. That's why we brought you here, Elara. Your father trained you for a reason. He knew that you would one day be ready to take up the mantle of a time weaver. We need your help to stop the temporal order and rescue your father. Over the next few days, Elara immersed herself in training with the Time Weavers. Miriam taught her advanced techniques in chronomancy, helping her to refine her control over time. Kiran showed her how to create and manipulate clockwork devices, tools that could aid her in her quest. Elena provided her with invaluable knowledge about the history and lore of time weaving, giving her the context she needed to understand the full scope of their mission. As Elara grew stronger and more confident in her abilities, she also began to uncover more about the temporal order. They were led by a ruthless and cunning leader known as Alaric, a former time weaver who had turned against his own kind in his quest for power. Alaric had gathered a formidable group of followers, each skilled in various aspects of time manipulation and willing to do whatever it took to achieve their goals. The Time Weavers developed a plan to infiltrate the Temporal Order's stronghold and rescue Alistair. It was a risky and dangerous mission, but they knew it was their only chance to stop Alaric and prevent the Order from gaining control over time. On the eve of the mission, Elara felt a mix of anticipation and anxiety. She knew that the fate of Kronos rested on their success. As she stood in the sanctuary, surrounded by her new allies, she felt a deep sense of camaraderie and purpose. They were all bound by a shared commitment to protect time and ensure that its flow remained uncorrupted. With Thorn's leadership and the combined skills of the Time Weavers, they set out to face their greatest challenge yet. The journey ahead was fraught with peril, but Elara was ready. She would do whatever it took to save her father and safeguard the city of Kronos from the shadows of the past. 4. The Fractured Clockwork. The Time Weaver's mission to infiltrate the Temporal Order's stronghold began under the cover of darkness. Elara, Thorn, Miriam, Kiran, and Elena made their way through the maze-like streets of Kronos, each step bringing them closer to the heart of enemy territory. Their plan was simple yet fraught with danger. They would breach the Order's defenses, locate Alistair, and extract him before the Order could react. Elara's heart pounded as they approached the nondescript warehouse that served as the Temporal Order's base. The building, unassuming from the outside, was a fortress of advanced technology and temporal manipulation on the inside. The group paused at the entrance, their faces illuminated by the faint glow of Elara's time-weaving pendant. "We need to disable their temporal barriers," Thorn whispered, his eyes scanning the structure. "Miriam, can you handle it?" Miriam nodded, her fingers already moving in complex patterns. She channeled her energy into the pendant, creating a small rift in the temporal barrier that shielded the warehouse. "We have a few minutes before it re-establishes," she said, her voice tense. "Let's move." They slipped inside, navigating the dimly lit corridors with a combination of stealth and speed. Kieran led the way, his knowledge of clockwork mechanisms allowing them to bypass several traps and security measures. As they progressed deeper into the stronghold, the tension grew palpable. Elara's thoughts were a whirlwind of worry and determination. She had trained for this moment, but the stakes had never felt higher. The lives of her father and the fate of Kronos hung in the balance. The group reached a central chamber, where a massive clockwork device dominated the room. Its gears and cogs turned in a rhythmic dance, each motion resonating with a deep, mechanical hum. This was the heart of the temporal order's power, a machine capable of manipulating time on an unprecedented scale. "That's the temporal engine," Elena whispered, her eyes wide with awe and fear. "If Alaric completes it, he could control the entire city's flow of time." "Then we need to destroy it," Thorn said, his voice grim. "But first, we find Alistair." As they moved towards a set of stairs leading down to the lower levels, a sudden noise caught their attention. Footsteps echoed through the corridor, and a group of enforcers appeared, blocking their path. The leader of the group, a tall man with cold, calculating eyes, stepped forward. "Intruders," he said with a sneer. "Did you really think you could sneak in here unnoticed?" The Time Weavers sprang into action. Miriam unleashed a burst of temporal energy, disorienting the enforcers. Thorn and Kieran engaged in close combat, their movements precise and lethal. Elena used her knowledge of the stronghold's layout to guide Elara through the chaos, searching for her father. They fought their way through the enforcers, descending deeper into the bowels of the stronghold. Finally, they reached a heavily guarded chamber. Inside, they found Alistair, bound and surrounded by intricate clockwork restraints that pulsed with temporal energy. "Father!" Elara cried, rushing to his side. She quickly began to dismantle the restraints, using the skills she had learned from Kieran and her father. Alistair looked up, his eyes filled with relief and pride. "Elara, you've come. We're getting you out of here," she said, her voice firm. "Just hold on." As they freed Alistair, the sound of footsteps echoed once more. Alaric, the leader of the temporal order, entered the chamber. His presence exuded an aura of authority and menace. "Leaving so soon?" Alaric said, his voice dripping with mockery. "You've only just arrived." Thorn stepped forward, placing himself between Alaric and the others. "This ends now, Alaric." "You won't succeed." Alaric smirked. "Oh, but I already have." With a flick of his wrist, he activated the temporal engine. The entire stronghold trembled as the machine roared to life, its gears turning faster and faster. Elara felt the pull of time distortion, the air around her growing thick and heavy. She focused her energy, creating a protective barrier around herself and her father. "We have to stop the engine," she shouted. Thorn and Kieran charged at Alaric, their movements synchronized. Miriam and Elena directed their efforts towards destabilizing the temporal engine, using their combined powers to counteract its influence. Elara, fueled by a mix of fear and determination, joined the fray. She used her time-weaving abilities to slow down the enforcers, giving her allies the upper hand. With each pulse of temporal energy, she felt herself growing stronger, more attuned to the flow of time around her. As the battle raged on, the temporal engine began to falter. Sparks flew from its overworked mechanisms, and the room was filled with the deafening sound of grinding gears. Elara saw her chance and directed a concentrated burst of energy at the engine's core. The temporal engine shuddered, then exploded in a brilliant flash of light. The shockwave threw everyone off their feet, and Elara felt herself being pulled into a void of swirling colors and sounds. When she regained consciousness, she found herself back in the central chamber, the temporal engine now a smoking ruin. Alaric lay unconscious, his plans thwarted. The remaining enforcers had fled, leaving the Time Weavers victorious. Elara helped her father to his feet, relief flooding her senses. "It's over," she said, her voice trembling with emotion. "We did it." Alistair hugged her tightly. "You were amazing, Elara. I'm so proud of you." Thorn approached, a look of admiration in his eyes. "You've proven yourself a true time weaver, Elara. The future of Kronos is brighter because of you." As they made their way out of the stronghold, Elara felt a profound sense of accomplishment. They had faced the shadows of the past and emerged victorious. But she knew that their work was far from over. The temporal order had been defeated, but the city of Kronos would always need protectors to guard the delicate balance of time. With her father and her newfound allies by her side, Elara was ready to face whatever challenges the future held. Together, they would continue to weave the threads of time, ensuring that its flow remained uncorrupted and free. 5. Threads of Destiny. With the temporal engine destroyed and Alaric captured, the immediate threat to Kronos had been neutralized. However, the victory was bittersweet. The temporal order had scattered, but their influence and ambition were far from extinguished. Elara knew that the fight for the city's future was only just beginning. Back at the sanctuary, Elara and the Time Weavers regrouped to assess their next steps. The sanctuary's warm, familiar ambience provided a stark contrast to the cold and chaotic environment of the temporal order's stronghold. Elara felt a sense of calm wash over her as she sat with her father, Thorn, Miriam, Kieran, and Elena around the large wooden table. "We've won a significant battle," Thorn said, his voice steady. "But the war against the temporal order is far from over. We need to be vigilant and prepared for their next move." Alistair, still recovering from his ordeal, nodded in agreement. "The order will regroup and try again. They are relentless in their pursuit of power. We must strengthen our defenses and continue to train new time weavers to protect Kronos." Elara listened intently, her mind already racing with ideas. She had discovered a strength within herself that she never knew existed, and she was determined to use it to safeguard her city. "We need to be proactive," she said. "We can't just wait for them to strike again. We need to track down their remaining members and dismantle their operations." Kieran, ever the strategist, leaned forward. "We should start by gathering intelligence. We know their hierarchy and some of their key members. If we can identify their hiding places and disrupt their plans, we can weaken them significantly." Elena added, "And we must also work on strengthening our own network. There are other time weavers out there who might join our cause if we can reach them. We need to build alliances and share knowledge." The group spent the next few weeks working tirelessly. Elara trained daily with Miriam, honing her abilities and learning new techniques. She practiced manipulating small threads of time, using her skills to slow down or speed up objects, and even to glimpse brief moments of the future. Her confidence grew with each passing day, as did her resolve. During this time, Elara also began to forge deeper connections with her new allies. Miriam, with her gentle wisdom and patient guidance, became a close mentor. Kieran, with his sharp mind and tactical expertise, taught her the importance of strategy and planning. Elena, with her vast knowledge and quiet strength, shared stories of ancient time weavers and their heroic deeds. One evening, as they sat around a fire in the sanctuary's courtyard, Thorn shared a story from his past. I was once a member of the Temporal Order, he confessed, his voice heavy with regret. I believed in their vision of a world controlled by time manipulation. But I saw the darkness in their hearts, the lengths they would go to achieve their goals. That's why I left and joined the Time Weavers. To atone for my mistakes and to fight for a future where time is respected, not controlled. Elara felt a surge of empathy for Thorn. We all have our pasts, she said softly. What matters is what we choose to do with our future. We're all here because we believe in something greater than ourselves. As the days turned into weeks, their efforts began to bear fruit. They located several safe houses used by the Temporal Order and disrupted their operations. They also found other Time Weavers, individuals who had been hiding their abilities for fear of persecution. With each new ally, their ranks grew stronger, and their hope for a better future brightened. One day, while Elara was practicing her time-weaving skills, she felt a sudden, powerful connection to the threads of time around her. She saw visions of possible futures, paths that branched out in countless directions. She saw Kronos thriving, its citizens living in harmony with time. But she also saw darker paths, futures where the Temporal Order regained power and plunged the city into chaos. Elara knew that the future was not set in stone. It was a tapestry woven from countless threads, each one representing a choice, a moment, a destiny. She realized that her role as a time weaver was not just to protect the present, but to shape the future. She shared her vision with the others, and they agreed to redouble their efforts. They would not just react to threats, they would actively work to create the future they desired. They would use their abilities to heal the fractures in the city's temporal fabric, to guide its citizens towards a brighter tomorrow. As they embarked on this new phase of their mission, Elara felt a deep sense of purpose. She was no longer just a daughter searching for her father, she was a guardian of time, a protector of her city. The threads of destiny were in her hands, and she was ready to weave a future of hope and harmony for Kronos. 6. The Final Weave. The months that followed were a whirlwind of activity and progress. Elara and the Time Weavers worked tirelessly, their efforts yielding significant victories against the remnants of the Temporal Order. With each mission, they grew more coordinated, more confident in their abilities, and more united in their cause. But the final confrontation was still looming, an inevitable clash that would determine the fate of Kronos. The intelligence they had gathered indicated that Alaric, though weakened and in hiding, was planning one last desperate attempt to seize control. He had retreated to an ancient fortress on the outskirts of Kronos, a place steeped in temporal energy and dark history. There, he was rumored to be working on a new device, one even more powerful than the temporal engine, capable of rewriting the fabric of time itself. Elara stood in the sanctuary, gazing at a map of the fortress laid out on the table before her. The air was thick with tension and anticipation. Around her, Thorn, Miriam, Kirin, Elena, and her father, Alistair, were making final preparations for the mission. This is it, Thorn said, his voice steady. We stop Alaric here, or he succeeds in his plan. There's no middle ground. Alistair placed a reassuring hand on Elara's shoulder. You've come so far, Elara. I believe in you. We all do. Elara nodded, her resolve hardening. We'll stop him. For Kronos, and for the future. They set out under the cover of night, moving swiftly and silently through the city's outskirts. The fortress loomed ahead, its dark silhouette outlined against the star-studded sky. As they approached, Elara could feel the pulsing energy emanating from within, a reminder of the power they were about to confront. The team split into two groups. Thorn, Miriam, and Kirin would create a diversion, drawing the guards away from the main entrance. Elara, Alistair, and Elena would infiltrate the fortress and confront Alaric directly. It was a risky plan, but it was their best shot at stopping him before he could activate his new device. The diversion worked flawlessly. As the sounds of battle echoed through the fortress, Elara, her father, and Elena slipped inside, navigating the labyrinthine corridors with precision. They encountered minimal resistance, the guards preoccupied with the skirmish outside. Finally, they reached the heart of the fortress, a vast chamber dominated by a towering structure of gears, crystals, and glowing sigils. At its center stood Alaric, his back turned as he worked furiously on the device. He looked up as they entered, a cold smile spreading across his face. "So, you've come," he said, his voice dripping with contempt. "Just in time to witness the birth of a new era." "This ends now, Alaric," Elara said, stepping forward. "We won't let you rewrite history." Alaric laughed, a harsh, mirthless sound. "You're too late. The temporal nexus is almost complete. With it, I will control time itself. The future belongs to me." Elara exchanged a glance with her father and Elena. They had to act quickly. While Alistair and Elena moved to disrupt the device's power source, Elara confronted Alaric directly. Their battle was fierce, a clash of wills and abilities. Alaric was powerful, his mastery of time-weaving formidable, but Elara fought with the strength of her convictions and the training she had received from the Time Weavers. As they battled, Alaric unleashed a surge of temporal energy, creating a distortion that threatened to tear the room apart. Elara focused all her energy, countering his attack with a barrier of her own. The strain was immense, but she held firm, her determination unwavering. Meanwhile, Alistair and Elena succeeded in sabotaging the device. The structure began to shudder and crack, its power faltering. Realizing his plan was failing, Alaric roared in fury and desperation. In a final, reckless move, he attempted to channel all the remaining energy into one last attack. Elara saw her chance. Drawing upon every ounce of her strength, she manipulated the threads of time around Alaric, trapping him in a temporal loop. He struggled, but his efforts were futile. The loop tightened, and with a blinding flash of light, the device exploded, the temporal energy dissipating harmlessly into the air. The chamber fell silent. Alaric lay unconscious, defeated. Elara, exhausted but victorious, collapsed to her knees. Her father and Elena rushed to her side, their faces etched with relief and pride. "It's over," Alistair said softly, helping Elara to her feet. "You did it." Elara looked around the ruined chamber, the weight of their victory sinking in. They had stopped Alaric and saved Kronos from a catastrophic fate. But more than that, they had proven the strength and resilience of the Time Weavers. As they emerged from the fortress into the dawn light, they were greeted by the sight of Thorn, Miriam, and Kieran approaching, their expressions triumphant. The battle outside had been won, and the remaining members of the Temporal Order had fled. Together, they returned to the city, where the people of Kronos welcomed them as heroes. The threat of the Temporal Order had been vanquished, but the work of the Time Weavers was far from over. They would continue to protect the flow of time, ensuring that it remained free and uncorrupted. For Elara, the journey had been transformative. She had discovered her true strength, forged unbreakable bonds with her allies, and embraced her destiny as a guardian of time. The threads of her life had woven a tapestry of courage, sacrifice, and hope, and she knew that the future of Kronos was brighter because of it. As the sun rose over the city, casting its golden light across the cobblestone streets and gleaming towers, Elara stood with her father and her friends, ready to face whatever the future held. The final weave had been completed, but their story was just beginning. Together, they would continue to shape the destiny of Kronos, one thread at a time.